tuwe ni watu wa kushukuru tukiwa mahali tulipo, kwa sababu ya ubali huu Mungu ametuweka. Tusiwe watu wa kulalamika, tuwe watu wa kutoa shukrani kwa sababu ya wema huu Mungu ameweza kutupa ama kutuonyesha kwa wakati huu. Kwa hivyo naomba mhubiri, ukiwa mahali ulipo, pastor yeyote, tafadhali please unganisha watu wako, washirika, tuweze kuomba kwa sababu ya nchi yetu ya Kenya na Afrika na dunia yote, kwa sababu si wote tunahusika. Na ninaomba mchungaji, ukiwa mahali ulipo, fuata maagizo ya Ministry of Health. Hakikisha kwamba watu wameoga mkono kikamilifu, hakikisha wana sanitizer, hasa microphone. Usikubali microphone ishikwe kama hakuna sanitizer. Kila microphone ni vyema iwe sanitized, kwa sababu we should care for one another. Kwa hivyo Mungu aweze kubariki kanisa na kuinua kanisa na kukinga kanisa pamoja na nchi yetu ya Kenya. Kwa hivyo Mungu,
I've appealed to our church leaders to be very conscious of time, because this disease is minimized by exposure. So the shorter the time we take, especially when infections are still rising, the better it is, and the safer it is for each and every one of us. So we have a responsibility to respect the stipulated time. In the pre-opening phase, it was 1 hour. Now it is 1.5. We just have to adhere to that for our own good as church leaders and for the good of the congregants who come to worship. That we should be an instrument of protection and of caring for our brothers and sisters. It's an act of love to do everything within the stipulated time so that nobody is unduly exposed to this virus. Well, our mandate was to develop stringent guidelines for safe, phased reopening of places of worship. And we have faced it according to, like now when infections are rising, and then we move to the next phase when infections the curve is flat and infections plateau. Then we move to third phase when infections begin to decline. Then the last phase is when things normalize, when infections have diminished. The cases are so few that they are not worth mentioning, that we can live with them. So this is how we shall proceed, looking at how the virus behaves and also the level of compliance. The level of compliance. This is what will determine how we move from one phase to another. No, we have a system where at each place of worship there is a congregational committee that should see to it that things are running. We have a checklist that they themselves will have and see whether there is that compliance. If that fails, if a congregational committee realizes that there is a level of non-compliance, of course you will share this with the sub-county committee. Yes? And if that still does not does not work, there is the county committee. If that still does not work, then there is the interfaith council, so that should deal with this. After which now we'll seek the intervention of the Ministry of Health, and they can now involve police that in cases of non-compliance there can be a closure. but after due process. We want as much as possible to regulate ourselves in that regard, only when that fails as a last resort should this be reported to other authorities.